Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which one of you would most likely have an old acquaintance, specifically a fraudster
I would have an acquaintance like that.
named Max Murlock?
Ooh, nice.
I would have a fraudster acquaintance.
Okay.
What I do
Absolutely
is
not.
move things that you need to be moved that you don't want people to know about.
How did...
Just need a great face.
So are you and Max actually friends, or are you sort of pure acquaintances?
Acquaintances.
And how did you two meet?
He was the person for whom I was doing a job. One of the houses wanted something that they could use for leverage for something else, and so I was the person they hired to move the thing so that it was still under the table so that the other houses wouldn't know about it.
Okay.
And he was the person from whom I was getting the things. And then even outside of that specific job, I've done random, if he's trying to sell things, or if he's trying to fence
He's
things.
kind of a con artist,
Yeah.
so he does, a little bit of everything.
And so I move things when he needs it, and he has the coin for it.
Okay. Now let me give you guys just a little bit of information about where we are. So, if you're not familiar with Eberron, right? It is it's a D&D setting that is separate from the Forgotten Realms. It doesn't exist in the same,
Universe.
place. Yeah, it is. It's part of the multiverse, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's very. It's distinct from Faerun and the Forgotten Realms and everything like that.
It's its own show.
It has its own planes of existence and its own sort of rules and stuff like that. So, it is a. Thank you. It is a. It's a magical world where everything is suffused with at least a little bit of rudimentary magic powering various technologies and things like that allow, the Warforged, for instance, airships, the Dragonmarked that manifest in certain houses as bloodlines. The more I was vaguely familiar with Eberron, but the more that I read about Eberron, the more I realize that La Marasma is just Eberron again, but in a Western setting as opposed to a fantasy.
A little bit
setting.
more modern.
Yeah. So an important thing to know is that Eberron is like swashbuckling adventure with a kind of a neo-noir sort of intrigue, and then just sort of mushing those together, right? These are this continent, Corvair, has got 5 nations in it, one of which was basically utterly destroyed by a great magical cataclysm during a war that ended 4 years ago and lasted for a century. So, called the Last War. That's they're being very, very hopeful with the naming of the war.
Very the joke about me meeting a time traveler from 19 to think. So tell me how the world has been since our the end of our last cataclysmic war. Oh, you mean World War I?
Yeah, the Great War.
What?
No. So these 5 nations are in this sort of an uneasy truce/Cold War with each other. They are scared into this kind of
submission
truce, this Cold War, because they're worried that what happened to the nation of Sire is going to happen to the rest of them if they continue waging openly magical war with each other. They have suspicions about why it happened. They don't really understand it. It was called the Mourning, Mourning. So they work they use their soft power, to try to get things done, right? To try to improve their own standing, their own wealth, et cetera, at the expense of the other nations, basically. And so accordingly, this world operates a little more under... everyone is usually motivated by simpler concerns than sort of good and evil. Like, there are not really any hard alignments, with the exception of, like, this creature is literally from the underworld. Most people are just they're greedy, they're self-interested, they're wrathful, they're whatever. They have sort of complex motivations, and the last war having just, quote unquote, ended, leading a lot of tension and everything like that. So it's a more quote unquote realistic sort of emotional landscape than, say, your traditional medieval fantasy kind of game, where there are clear good guys and clear bad guys and everything like that. If it's in D&D, it's probably an Eberron, but the importance of it or the prevalence of it may be different depending, right? An important thing to know, trying to get you an idea of in this world, is that magic in this world is like an everyday thing, like basic cantrips and like first level spells. A bunch of people know them. They get employed as a means of, like, lighting the streets. Like, they'll cast continual flame on a lantern, and that lights the streets. And then at the end of the day, people come by and, like, pull a shade down or something to keep them from burning, like, to keep them from shining all night, right? They have a sort of rudimentary, like a train system that's powered by bound elementals, called the lightning rail.
Instead of using like a flaming elemental to boil water.
They have airships that either have an air or a fire elemental sort of bound to it in a ring around it that creates this kind of motive force that pushes the airships through. Like, they use speaking stones. They created the Warforged, which are sort of, they're not robots exactly, they're sentient creatures, but they're constructs made of, like, metal and wood and glass and all this stuff. They were bred for the war. Now there was a big treaty, and basically they said no more making Warforged, and also all the Warforged are free people now.
Free the slaves.
Well, that, but then mix in a little bit of, like, post World War I, where it's like, I came back from the war. What do I do in society?
Yeah. The Warforged were created to
fight,
to participate in that conflict, and now that conflict's not there anymore. It is this sort of empty kind of, this emptiness, this sort of recalibration of your expectations about what you're supposed to do in society. Now, because we play in La Marasma, you may wonder, well, how is this different than that? Well, Eberron is more sort of fantasy-oriented, right? Guns are not a thing. Like firearms, and like traditional firearms are not a thing. There aren't any vehicles in terms of like an automobile or something like that. That's not a thing. People still they either walk, they use horses, they use carts driven by, like, carriages driven by horses. Teleportation spells are a thing, but they're expensive. Resurrection spells, expensive. Greater Restoration, expensive, right? And only a few people, only a handful of people, as in sort of the basic D&D world, really know how to do that.
There's a lot of basic knowledge of magic.
Yes.
There's a lot less.
The way that they put it is that magic is wide but not tall.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
In fact, there's a type of person in, the world of Eberron called mage rights. And mage rights are basically like magical clerks and business people and stuff like that. They know a couple of cantrips and maybe a first level spell or two, and they utilize those to provide services to people, right? And that they're not wizards. It's just magic is so and such an everyday thing that they just know a couple of things and they use that in their trade.
Everyone's kind of a mild sorcerer.
I wouldn't say everyone, but it's common enough that,
In the
Probably
general
more wizard
populace.
than sorcerer.
Well, I was thinking, like, since magic might be so
It's
ingrained
basically like technology.
into the world, it might
Could be,
be a
yeah.
little bit like...
like you could go into a shop and in a major city and purchase a common magic item. Just you don't have to worry about it. It's just
There
there.
might be sorcerers who become trained wizards.
I mean,
in
yeah.
that sense.
Some houses have arcane locks on their doors, but those they can afford it, right? Uncommon magical items, you could probably purchase them in a major city,
Still-
but
It's not-
selection's going to be limited, quantity's going to be limited.
And you have to
right?
be able to afford it.
People are familiar with teleportation and raise dead, but few people have ever seen either of those things actually performed, right? Because to give you a kind of an idea of how magic scales, right? Cantrips and first level spells are commonplace. There are some mage rights and Dragonmarked heirs who can do second and third level spells. Those services can be bought, but not cheaply. And then anything 4th through 5th and beyond is most people are not going to experience that in their lifetime, right? Unless they come into a lot of money or they're just in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, you
Right.
just have, if the right house probably has a 4th or higher 5th.
An example of a mage right is a launderer, right? They know mending and prestidigitation, and they use it on fabric to clean stuff up. That's chefs know purify food and drink and gentle repose. They're good with cook's tools and blah blah blah. So
Are you calmed down now?
Let's find out.
So imagine that the world is in tone like a pulpier basic D&D, right? With maybe some very rudimentary technology, but stuff that makes sense with respect to magic and not quote unquote science or engineering, right? They don't have steam trains. They have trains powered by elementals, right? They don't have airships with coal or hydrogen or anything like that. They use elementals, right? They don't have phones. They have speaking stones that are like basically the equivalent of like
Hello.
Send message.
Walkie-talkies?
yeah, not walkie-talkies, but
Islands?
Oh no.
Almost pagers.
I'm trying to remember exactly how they worded it.
Not telecoms, like the
Everyday magic,
so they're-
like a telegraph.
yeah, that's
Right.
that's
So I say that stuff just to calibrate your expectations, right? So not La Marasma level like Victorian industrial stuff, but
Magic tech.
Similar, but
Magitech,
magic,
yeah, with it to a certain degree of sophistication. Right. The world of Eberron, which is named after one of the 3 sort of primordial dragons that created all the planes of existence. There's Eberron, which is the dragon between, and then there's something or other. Let me see if I can remember what the fucking name is. Let me get to the... Here. Sybaris, the dragon above, and then Kyber, the dragon below. Those are like the sort of 3 sort of folds of like the material plane, right? There's celestial stuff, devil stuff, the world of Eberron, right?
Okay.
And there are 13 other planes of existence, like Dalcor, the region of dreams, Lamania, the twilight forest, etc., etc., etc.
basically
And in Eberron, which is like a proper planet, like Earth or whatever, however they say it, in traditional D&D fantasy stuff there's a continent called Corvair. And Corvair is where most of the action in Eberron happens. There are other countries basically that occupy like other continents and stuff like Zandrik and all these other places, but that's not relevant to what we're doing right now. In Corvair, again, several nations.
How do you spell that?
Corvair, Khorvaire.
Okay.
So in Khorvaire, the continent, right? There are a couple of different like nations. There's sort of like the 5 nations, as I mentioned, who are sort of the big players, and then there are some other places like Droam is not really recognized yet. It's sort of like a country of monsters exclusively, right? Anyway, you guys are in Brayland, Brayland, and you are in the great city of Sharn, which you may have heard of before.
It's from Brayland.
BRE land. The Braylish are known for their pragmatism and independence.
So we're in Shard?
Sharn.
Sharn.
Sharn. Now that city is the largest metropolis in the entire continent. It's called the City of Towers because the way that it's situated on the coastline is that there are mountains sort of ringing it around, and so it was impossible for them to expand outward, and so instead they went up. And so Sharn, because of its population, because of its sophistication in terms of like just sheer development, is practically a nation in and of itself, right? In the same way that if you go to Neverwinter, like it's practically a place itself, even though it's part of the Sword Coast and blah 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 blah.
Sounds vaguely Japanese. Kind of the same idea.
Yeah,
Not a lot of real estate, so I have to go
exactly. They have to go up. Yeah. Deals get done here. Spies work. Houses feud. Like this is, you know,
This is a nation.
it's basically it's a nation city, yeah. And it's a series of, again, spiraling towers and huge architecture and things like that are, you know, shooting upward, and there are bridges and walkways snaking through, connecting everything. There are in Sharn there are several tiers. Chiefly there are 3 of them. There's of course the lower, the middle, and the upper cities. Right.
Oh, yes, the Cloud District.
Now they have literally a cloud district.
Oh my god.
It's called Skyway,
Please tell me we're not going to meet anybody.
which is literally, it's like for the ultra rich. It's built on actual sort of magical like cloud cover, basically, so that they never even have to like go down to the lower part of the city.
Peons.
And the upper city of Sharn is not like, that's not, you know, the Ozark Mountains or whatever. It's like already pretty damn rich people live in the upper city. And then beyond that are the people in Skyway, right?
Do they still throw their waste out of the windows?
Well, I guess we'll find out. And then there's stuff going on below them. There are lava pools way underneath the crust and cogs and depths and blah, blah, blah. But that's not going to be important for you right now. So depending on where you are and depending on what district you're in, if you think about it, like the districts are layered horizontally and then lower, middle, upper. So you can have, let's say you have the district of Dura, which is sort of on the western side. You could have lower Dura or middle Dura or upper Dura. You see how that works?
Okay.
And depending on the district, like Dura is like maybe a little less well off than, say, the Central Plateau, right? So lower Dura, so middle Dura, right, may be equivalent to like lower Central Plateau in terms of like the people there, the money that moves through there, the architecture, like you see what I mean? But generally speaking, as you move up, the richer, more sophisticated people they get, right? Because they can afford to live up there, right?
Scuttlecorn, just.
And that's really all you need to know to start with. And I only belabored that because you'll be moving, like, just to give you an idea of, like, not only moving between districts, but you're also moving
up and down
vertically. Right?
And just because you're in the middle doesn't mean that it's exactly the same, like the middle somewhere else.
Right. The middle of one district maybe will be tonally different, visually different, you know, economically different, socially different than the middle of other districts. Right? Okay, so
what is the kind of the district, the
Most
creme de la
well-to-do.
creme. Yeah.
Maybe not even well-to-do, but busiest.
Well,
No, I would mean the most well-to-do. Like that'd be important to know.
And I'm assuming excluding Sky. the
well,
Cloud
yeah.
District.
Skyway would
Sky's
be.
its own.
If
But you
you-
talked
have a
about how
Sky
some
Mall?
districts, their middle and their high would be higher than this person's middle and high. I didn't know if there was a specific, like, everybody knew that this was the deal, or if it just kind of fluctuates.
Generally speaking, it's the Central Plateau.
Okay.
It's the safest place in the city because it's literally it's in the
Right in the middle
center.
of the city.
The City Watch headquarters is there. Like, you know,
Okay.
merchants, city councilors, barons, ambassadors, they're all there, generally in the Central Plateau.
Okay.
And again, the higher you get, like, so lower Central Plateau is like a peaceful residential neighborhood, right? And then upper Central is like where the Kundarak bank vaults are. You know, like, it's the financial district, right?
Okay.
Whereas Dura on the west is the oldest quarter of Sharn, and it's basically like riddled with poverty and crime. You know, cracks in the stones, the enchantments that have places there have just like not been bothered to be renewed. You know,
Who cares about the historical?
probably the most dangerous section of the city.
Okay.
And of course, above the Central Plateau is even Skyway,
Yeah, yeah.
which is like for the ultra rich, the 1%.
That's for, like, Jeff Bezos.
Or not even the 1%, like the 0.1%.
I said the 1%. Don't correct me.
Do I need to have you reference my sheets?
You want
I'm prepared to get smited, but you know,
You want to die in character creation? No?
I can just make
I like that happen.
Let's do it. Traveler.
So, C,
Yeah.
your acquaintance, Max Murlock,
It's kind of a son of a bitch.
he is, yes. You know Max Murlock to be a human male on the younger side,
Come.
close cropped hair, chin beard, right? Not like Lincoln, but like, you know, sort of close cut.
Okay.
Trend.
He likes to when he's in the money. He likes to dress well. He likes the ladies. You know, he is a braggadocio and a con man.
He likes to live above his means.
Yes, and he recently got in contact with you. He says that he's in a bit of a bond, which is not unusual to you. And he needs all the help that he can get, that he ensures will be worthwhile for you and anyone else who can sort of band
Bring
together to
together,
take
yeah,
care
yeah.
of this. So he asked you and any people you could sort of round
Find.
up to help to meet in a bar down in Middle Memphis.
Okay.
Did you say Middle Memphis?
Memphis.
I heard
Okay.
Menthis, not Memphis. Yeah.
So yeah, Memphis exists.
Middle Memphis.
Like I just found out that Soul Eater is set in Nevada.
Right.
Like literally, it's Nevada.
And there's Memphis, Egypt, too, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
Uh,
that from
Did
civilization.
he give me any details about what he needs? I mean, as far as he knows, I just move things.
he was loath to say anything detailed in sort of in a more public environment. The bar that you're going to is sort of a kind of hole in the wall place. There wouldn't be a whole lot of people, and if they were, they would be either drunk or minding their own damn business. And so he felt it was more comfortable just to sort of bring everybody together, meet, and then break. He seemed to, based on the tenor of the conversation you had with him, he seemed like he was kind of in over his head on this one.
No problem.
Also not uncommon.
All right. And as far as the rest of you guys, what are your professions? Like, how might I have known? How might I have interacted with you?
Soldier from the war, always looking for work. I kind of probably turn to
Hired muscle.
Well, that and like back alley doctor as a result. I've had to drop a lot of these for Leon tonight.
Okay, so you muscle.
I might be the muscle.
We can have multiple muscles.
Multiple muscles
need
probably a good
two.
idea.
Given that I am not a muscle, I would probably be aware of multiple of you
No.
if either of you are willing to do less than. We'll do extra legal jobs at times.
My
when protection is
personality
needed.
trait is I'm rude to people who lack my commitment to hard work and fair play. So
So, I'll probably know you through somebody else.
I think it's likely that I have helped you or worked with you before because I'm sure not everything that I am acquiring for the people I work for is always legal. I know it seems lame because I work for a library, but
I mean, sometimes libraries need banned books.
sometimes, yeah.
man books. There you go.
Banned books.
Or, maybe I'm just stealing that sacred book from that church because I need it. So,
The only copy of this really rare book is in this, family's house, and you have to go in there and get it.
just have to get it, man.
Okay.
Because I
Can I
gotta
find
get it.
Skyrim.
That or they're just very strict on their return policy.
They're just hoarding all of the copies of.
And I
the
can
Dirty
imagine that I would have
Arcadian
interacted with you because you're actually
Lusty.
you're an official courier for one of the houses,
Yeah,
and I am the unofficial courier for all of the houses.
and you would have found out I'm a forced adventurer.
Did he hurt you?
Okay, so
Just reacted poorly to me trying to move him out underneath the...
who would have the most likely awareness of Lenny?
Probably me, because there was probably some interaction between the guilds.
Okay,
That makes sense to me.
cool. So I think we figured out all of the connections.
Good, great.
That's Sherlock Holmes.
So, because you might have missed some of it, they would be hired muscle at times for protection
Sure.
on jobs,
Mercenaries.
steelbooks for the library,
Lookouts.
and as the unofficial courier, it's very likely I would work with the official courier of a house in regards to some of the things that I move for the houses.
Okay. What about Linney?
Lenny would know.
I see, so
Sure.
you know them by way, yeah.
Yep.
Friend of a friend. Got it. Okay. So, a lot of you are there in Middle Memphis, which is one of the most diverse wards in Sharn. One street, maybe a row of halfling homes, and another might be orcs from the Shadow Marches to the west. It's one of the most melting pot-esque sort of places in Sharn. There's even a large Siren population here, which are sort of now, because their nation was essentially wiped out in the morning. They are refugees, essentially. And
What's
they've
the name
been...
of the nation that was wiped out?
Cyre, Cyre. So those Syrian refugees are there. They happen to be wealthy enough to live there in Sharn, as opposed to like one of the refugee camps. In fact, there's a new Cyre I think it's also in Brayland, where the old king of Cyre sort of like become the mayor of this refugee town. He claims he's a king in exile, but at this point, like, he has little to no power or clout to back that up.
It's nothing to rule.
Yeah.
Gotta accumulate that Twitter clout.
And so so because of that, there are different cultures, different foods and drinks, different festivals and things like that all over Corvair. It's a good sampling of what Corvair is if you just go to Middle Memphis, right? So you've been sitting in this sort of hole-in-the-wall bar. It's not a dingy place, but it's clearly...
A certain type of people come to this bar.
It's meant for like a lower middle class sort of clientele, right? Some rustic stuff, some simple wooden chairs, some tankards and tavern ambiance and that sort of thing. It's about half as big as your average tavern. In the first floor of a sort of a stone. And you've been waiting there for nearly an hour by the time your friend, Max Murdoch, walks through the door. Now, you spot him right away. He is wearing his trademark sort of long pocketed coat, and I say this with all the awareness in the world, a fedora. Not a trilby.
An actual classic
A proper fedora.
1920s gangster.
Yes. He looks... he generally has a kind of a tossed off sort of look to him, like he didn't try very hard, you know what I mean? It's got that kind of sort of just woke up and I already looked this way sort of style. But he looks especially disheveled today. And also worried. He spots you and the rest of you seated at a table, makes his way over there. You see him take off his fedora, drop it on the table, and he reaches for one of the drinks that are already there on the table and just drains it, places it down. And he sits down and tries to make himself as comfortable as he can in this sort of awkward, stiff-backed chair.
And I look at my drink and that he just drank.
I'll take care of it.
What do you want?
Well, thanks for coming and see. I appreciate it. These your people?
They're
No.
people with whom I've worked. Most of them.
I'm getting mixed signals here.
Well, you might be getting better signals if you've been here an hour ago.
Yeah, well, complications. Okay,
Always.
you know how it is. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Max. And I'm in a little bit of trouble. So I thought maybe you could help me out in exchange for a little bit of gold. How about that? Some gallifars, which is the coinage for gold pieces. Okay, so here he goes.
What's Max's race?
He's human. Not Dragonmarked. He's just a regular ass human.
Oh, by the way, my Dragonmarked is like right on my
Right there in
cheeks,
your face?
so that everybody
He's
very
aware.
visible.
Yeah.
Everybody knows,
Nice.
yes. It's not uncommon for facial dragon marks, but yeah. Okay. So one of the creme de la creme of our society here in Sharn, Lady Nora Irul, she approached me recently, and she wanted me to find out where her missing husband had gone to. I said, of course I would. I'd be glad to. And that I was very flattered that out of all of the investigators and inquisitives in the city that she could come to me in her hour of need. Now, Mrs. Irul, she doesn't know that I'm not actually a private investigator. Just sort of play one, you know.
I think that laughs in game.
It is. It absolutely is in game.
You
So
know,
it's my eye twitching.
the ladies love a dark and brooding type who ferrets out the mysteries and yada yada yada. Anyway, so I was
she
thinking
wants
that
them found?
maybe
Or not killed.
you folks could do the investigating for me, and we'd all share in the profit.
Right, so what,
Okay.
what happens to you when you don't dig yourself out of this hole, Max?
Lady Nora is probably very upset with me, and my reputation as a private investigator is blown, so I gotta move on to another con. Not a huge deal, but, inconvenient, to say the least.
Why exactly should we cut you in on the profits?
She's got a good point.
You don't get the information from me unless we agree to something.
Because he found the job for us. He's our procurer.
Yeah, I'm sort of a broker. Think of it that way.
5%, 95%.
Oh, he's not.
Negotiate with him.
I was trying to be generous.
Look,
Let's
I
not
can
be
see,
generous.
I can see you've all got cold
2%.
feet. Tell you what, I can guarantee you 50 Galifar each if we do this, and it's simple work. Find what is most likely a drunk and/or bored noble who's trying to get some time away from a domineering wife, or trouble in paradise, or whatever. We find him. We report back to Lady Nora. Everything's kosher.
It's so simple. Why do you need our help, if you don't mind me asking?
Because I'm not a private investigator. I don't
He's
know
pretty
how to do
worthless.
that.
But what are you not telling us?
Okay.
That's it. I'm literally telling you everything.
I've worked with you enough that you know that I don't believe you.
He probably forgot what he was supposed to tell us.
This seems far too straightforward for you to have taken on the effort for this con.
Especially given that none of us are private investigators either.
Okay. Apparently, Lady Nora's husband liked to do a little bit of drinking, slumming, basically, in Dura. And I'm not really cut out for Dura.
Oh, you want to get him out safely. People find out he's a noble.
If he's even still there. Now, somebody with that kind of money, obviously, walking around in Dura, they're a magnet for
Kidnappings,
robbings,
ransoms.
kidnappings, who knows
Wait a
what.
minute. Are you saying that he has this money, and he actually went to Dora looking like he has this money?
Nobles aren't the brightest people
I
sometimes.
don't have,
He was probably
I'm-
drunk when he went there.
I'm
looking to
working
get
this
more.
out as much as you guys are. Okay?
Okay, so what is
Where's the last?
Nora? Where can we find Lady Nora?
She's not taking
Personal
people right now. She's a very busy woman, and so she's sort of delegated this to me to figure this out.
And we're not
Right.
supposed to be letting on that we're doing this work for him.
Yeah, and I shouldn't be bothering her with this work, because the more I do, the more it looks like that she needs the help to find her husband, which is not a good look.
She was probably expecting it done a few days ago.
How long ago did you take this job, Max?
It was 2 days ago. We're still in a very fresh window. Okay.
All right. What does the noble look like?
So he's a tall fella, like 6'2", I think.
Name?
Human.
No, he's a regular guy. Dreven, Drevan.
You
Is
have
he
a
a lord?
portrait?
No, I
Out of character, is he like a lord?
don't. He's a
His wife is
nobleman.
a lady.
He's a noble, not really a lord per se, but he's just,
Aristocrat.
Trying to figure out how to address him. This wife is Lady Nora.
I would say, lord is probably safe to use.
Can I roll an
More of
insight
like
to see
a-
if-
It's more of like a. What am I thinking of? It's not an official title. It's just like
Sure, it's
a
like-
pleasantry.
Yeah, yeah. It's more of a hospitality thing than it is
Yeah.
Proper title and rank.
Can I roll an insight to see if there's something beyond the usual level of bullshit Max would
What's
be
their
feeding
last
me?
name?
Sure, yeah. Irul, IR apostrophe ROOLE. And Nora is spelled the traditional way, Nora.
I don't know anything.
Now it's common for noble names to have that sort of
Apostrophe thrown.
yeah, to have that kind of prefix, right? It's sort of a mark of
Stature.
it's a mark of stature, yeah. So the noble families generally add that ear apostrophe to their last name, right? So you'll have nobles like Darrow Irlane, right? And so if you hear ear before a person's surname, it means they've got land, they've got money, they're a proper noble, Right.
So
As opposed to a highfalutin merchant or somebody like that who's sort of putting on airs, right?
So could you have a D and an ear? Deer.
You could conceivably, I guess. Although if you were a member of a house, then you might just simply
Have that recognized name.
Yeah.
You wouldn't need that.
You wouldn't necessarily need the ear part because now you are part of the major houses, and so it's
Understandable.
your importance is sort of already understood.
Yep.
So Max, we both know that you're not the highest of living individuals. Do you have any contacts in Dora we could use?
Last time I was there, we had a little bit of a scuffle with the law, and so anybody that may have been helpful to me down there is probably rotting in a cell right now. And I can't get within 100 feet of the place without getting picked off by a city watch guard. Okay, so I'm afraid you're on your own.
Where was the last place this noble was seen?
Like I said, there's this watering hole in Middle Dora where he liked to slum, drink, get away from the business in Central District and so on.
There are a lot of slums there. What's the name?
Okay, well, give me
Oh, I thought there was actually
90 seconds for me to generate a name.
Oh no, if it doesn't actually have a name.
No,
for
it's
you,
too late now.
Too
I have
late
to go
now.
through this whole thing.
You asked.
It's because I thought in the story
No,
there'd be like,
no.
go to this tavern.
No, it's too late.
This is the classic
There we go.
DM problem of there's a guy in the corner. I go up and ask his name. Why, I thought he's not in the story.
I feel like
You've
knowing
now
the
made
name
him
of
a
the
part of the
tavern
story.
that we need to go to for information.
Because I thought we went over this already.
This seems
On
more
Facebook.
reasonable than
Yep.
the meme.
The problem with that one is it started with a named goblin.
Mm-hmm.
You gave him a name. That's the problem. You just have to say there's a goblin in the corner. That's just there for flavor.
We'd still go talk to him.
Yeah, that's the
you
problem.
can go talk to him.
But at that point, as a DM, you can be like, no, that's on you. You were approaching the set dressing.
That is one of the fun things about playing Call of Cthulhu sometimes, because sometimes the set dressing is there to help you die.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you
Everything is
just
trying to kill you in Call
you,
of Cthulhu.
you spent your entire amount of time just going down things that didn't matter. Now the world's ended. Sucks to suck.
You've got to be an investigator.
It's this place called the Blue Lagoon.
Does he want to go back to his wife, or are we going to have
I don't.
to fight him?
I have no idea. Okay, I haven't talked to the guy.
Okay.
I don't. That's the place he was last seen. I don't know where this guy is. You ever worked a missing persons thing before?
No.
You don't generally get to ask them if they're hanging out, on their own, or if they want to come back. You just have to find them.
Very
Look, man,
specific.
I just wanted to know if you knew if he liked his wife or not.
What did I miss?
I mean, she's
Not
We
too
found a
much.
bar.
she's nice. She's fucking hot.
Blue
There's
Lagoon.
no. I don't see a problem here. She's rich, and they both are. But so unless there's something else going on, behind closed doors, then
Maybe he's gay.
maybe I don't know.
Okay.
You're really not earning your cut of this.
You get used to that.
Look, do you want the job or not?
You have to. We have to take the job, or you're going.
To die.
Possibly, yeah. We both know that.
That was out of
Don't
character.
get over yourself. I'm not gonna die.
No, the noble might kill you if you don't find the
What?
husband.
That's not. We live
There are
in
laws.
we live in a civil society. That's not how that
Joker
works.
face. We live in a society.
Max, we
I
live
know
in a
at least 5
society.
people that can have you killed.
Then why won't you go to Dora? Because we don't live in a civil society.
Because I will probably be arrested and or killed. But
The
not by
noble-
nobles,
The
by
noble
assholes
lives
who
in
live
a
in
civil
Dora.
society.
All right.
All right, let's go then, Dora, and we'll try to get you out of this hole. But eventually, you're gonna get in a hole you can't get out of.
How have you been keeping this up for so long? You don't have any private investigation skills.
He doesn't have any skills.
I'd say he's got some skills in conning.
Hey, fuck you.
I'm just wondering how he's
After
been
that
managing
last
this
drop,
particular
Max.
con.
He at least
That
called
was your
one
fault.
noble lady into making her think he was a private investigator.
Well, no.
I'm very good
People.
with. I'm great with people. I'm not so great with facts.
Okay.
All right. So where do you want us to meet you when we find the noble?
Just come back here. That's
Okay.
the easiest place.
Do we need to bring him with us, or do we just need to bring back information of where he is?
I would assume
mean-
just info.
Ideally, if you find him, bring him back. But as long as Lady Nora knows, his whereabouts, I mean, as far as I'm
Don't
concerned,
go
the job's
home.
done.
Okay.
We have no legal justification to move him. If he does not wish to come, he will not come.
He's got it. Listen to the robot.
Okay.
And a little bit racist.
That's Max.
Who cares?
It's only racist if the Slavic people exist.
So what time of day are we
What?
at this bar?
Robot.
meeting Max?
Oh.
Is this
It's
evening?
effectively
midday.
Midday?
like
Okay.
a
So we
slur,
could-
if you're going to look at it in the original Slavic.
It'd be sensible, like, we could go to Dora right now.
Oh, no, yeah. It takes basically approximately 30 minutes to go between
For
sort
some
of district
reason,
sections.
Okay.
So,
My
like,
brain
either if you're
just
going
interpreted that
horizontally
as
or
racism
vertically, you're
only
looking at
exists
about 30
because of
minutes.
the
If you're just,
slums.
like, walking.
Like,
Right.
is it just a general fact? And I'm sitting there like,
So you know
What?
that you could, you know that you could get to Middle Dora, right? Which is
It's check.
where
literally
this watering
translates
hole
to
is.
forced
You don't have to go
labor.
vertically or horizontally. You can just go
Go
over,
straight over.
right? So you know that's going to take about half an hour
All right.
I vaguely remember
by
that
foot.
from
Anyway.
a paper I wrote in high school on
All right. Let's go.
automatons and
I'm sorry. The name of the tavern is
Artificial
right here. I didn't have
intelligence.
to come up with it.
singularity.
I figured.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah,
right.
how we're going to deal with
They
that,
probably
legally
had-
speaking.
But it's
Alright.
not Blue Lagoon.
This is an
Blue
intensive
Lagoon's
paper.
probably better than whatever they had anyway.
Or maybe it was.
So,
I've been put on leave by my boss. Says I need to get out of the workshop more and work on my people skills. So
That's sort of what happened to me. Sort of.
This would be a great opportunity, meet people, especially one particular person.
that sort of is making me nervous.
Well, I slept with my boss's wife, and now I have to get out and see the world.
Oh, you're the whole reason I'm here.
Okay, let's go.
all right. to Dora
Yeah,
it is.
the sooner you can do this, the better. Because he didn't come home about 2 nights ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll just drain the rest of my drink and stand up and start marching on over to Dora.
I go to drink the rest of my drink, then I give you a really nasty glare.
Who, me?
No, him.
No, no.
Say what? I didn't do anything.
So as they all walk
For once,
away,
I'm not
I
playing an
would
offensive character.
kind of catch Max for one last bit. Like, you're always in hot water, Max. Why does this have you so worried?
I know enough about Dora. I know enough about this fucking city to know that when people go missing, they don't tend to come back. So, especially when we're dealing with nobles, that's above my pay grade.
Okay.
Now, I made very clear to Lady Nora, I was like, leave this to the Inquisitives. That's their job. They go out, they find people, that's the whole point. But she was desperate, she was distraught, she insisted that I help her,
Getting flashbacks
and I'm a
to
sucker.
Darker Than Black.
So,
Okay. So she doesn't want the Inquisitors to know.
either that or she's just desperate and she can't wait for the rigmarole that's going to happen. Oh, let's file a case. Oh, let's see if somebody's available. Let's get them down here. And Inquisitives are wall-to-wall busy every single day. There's like 1,000 people probably in the next block.
Yeah, but it also doesn't look good when your husband's gone missing because he doesn't want to be with you.
Oh, we don't know that.
Okay. We'll get back to you. I'm gonna head off to the tavern, to the next tavern. We'll go from a tavern to a tavern.
We gotta walk.
It's bar hopping.
So
I like this part.
about a half an hour later, a lot of you make your way to the Dura district, the
Hopefully
oldest
I don't get sober.
in
Good
Shar.
parts, though.
As you're walking through, you can see the cracks in the stonework and the places where normally the sort of thin sheen of magical enchantment has sort of begin to wear down and essentially is almost non-existent there, as enchantments have essentially run out of juice and have not been upkept.
What's everybody armed
Sometime.
with? And are you visibly armed?
Yes.
What do you have?
I have a bastard sword.
Nice.
I just have my longbow over my back. Nothing super threatening. That's not the point.
I have a great sword and a
No
dual,
case.
dual bladed scimitar.
Scimitar.
Dual bladed.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like think like
Like interlocking blades?
No,
it's
like
not
Darth
interlocking
Maul?
blade. Yeah, it's Darth Maul. With scimitars.
It's a blade on one end, blade on the other.
Two-handed.
I see, I see.
So it looks like the blade you'd put in a blender, but enlarged to
Yeah.
actually wield.
Yeah.
I think we have a visual reference for that. Actually.
Thank you. That helps me. I'm not like visibly armed. I have a cane.
You
sword,
work for a library.
so I have a crossbow attached to me somewhere.
Does it have like a
Sword
crystal
or
on
a
top, or is it
shield
like
and a warhammer, and both
curved?
of them are just slung across the back right now.
Curved and
I've got my rapier at my hip, dagger, my instrument across my back.
And as
Not
we,
technically a weapon unless it's
The weapon is
in the hands of a bard, in which case.
I'm a dwarf.
I
as
mean-
we approach Dora, I would start
You
to
didn't
just
get to
visibly
keep
look a little
allows you to
grungier,
use
kind of the
dexterity
skin a
with
little
that.
less well kept,
Nope.
and the hair a little frizzier, and I would do the changeling thing and try to get to the part. More masculine looking.
Blend in.
It's gonna be real funny when somebody tries to rob me and they find out I'm broke because all my money's tied up in a project.
You have money.
Comes from working for a guild.
As you're passing through Middle Dora, you see that the people that are streaming past you, the activity going on in the streets, is very much that of the working class and the lower class, which further hammers home the idea that Draven, Lord Draven, as a nobleman, really shouldn't have been, even deigning to spit in this district, much less go there regularly to spend his evenings at the Blue Lagoon. So much so that, as Max mentioned previously, that he would pay the tavern owner to just sort of leave the keys and let him have a drink in peace. The Blue Lagoon, as you come across it really looks very mundane. Doesn't look really any different than any of the other storefronts in this area. There's a faded sign. The exterior is scarred with simple chips and slight breaks of panes of glass, and it's seen a lot of wear and tear. There's a sturdy door with a clearly good lock. For the most part, it's immediately forgettable, except for the fact that there is a member of the Sharn City Watch standing, it looks like guard, in front of the tavern. There's a look of fatigue and annoyance on his face. In front of him, you can see a nervous half-elf pacing back and forth. You see him turn to say something to the guard, but the human's face scowls very clearly, and the half-elf immediately drops his hand and just heads off down the street, defeated.
The human guard.
Yes. Well, I mean, the half-elf left.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the human guard is still there.
Who was
Yes.
the one scowling?
Is the half elf heading our way or down another?
No,
street?
he's headed away. Not towards you, but away from you.
Oriana, you look a little bit higher class. Do you want to ask the guard? what
Talking to
is-
people is not what I do.
I'll do it.
Okay.
Too eager?
Yes.
More just impatient.
That's why I brought her.
What am I talking to him about?
So you head towards this
He looks-
guard.
This is not the kind of place that would be guarded
Closed.
or closed or guarded.
Bouncer.
No.
Alright.
No, yeah, it's not really bouncer. It's
Just kind of see if you can figure out what happened here. It seems like something bad happened here.
Observation. I assume if the guard was female, you would be capable of communicating.
Not
The robot's got a point.
Alright.
It would be better, but not all that great.
So you head towards this human male, long face, gray hair, dark blue eyes, wearing the traditional uniform of the Sharn City Watch. He has sort of, again, that look of annoyance, tiredness, the brief traces of the scowl still left on his face. And are you sort of openly approaching it? Or are you sidling up? Or how are you doing this?
I'll march right up to him.
Okay. You see him raise a hand for you to stop. And he says, "What can I do for you?"
Was wondering what's going on with the bar. My friends and I were interested in patronizing it.
Oh, I'm afraid it's closed under City Watch business, miss.
Sounds pretty serious.
Just your typical investigation. Nothing you need to worry about.
Does it have anything to do with a certain missing nobleman?
I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
I see. Okay. What's my persuasion look like? +2, that's not bad.
I do a persuasion check.
I am going to try to persuade him with the honest premise that we have been hired to look for a
Okay.
missing noble.
Before we do that, let's do a fortune thing, right? Before we actually get to roll.
What are we rolling for fortune?
Just a single d20, right?
Oh, above or below 10?
13.
18?
13 and 18.
4.
There it is.
12,
7.
We're doing a little too
16.
16.
We're gonna die, guys.
bad. Yeah. It's too high.
Oh god, we're gonna die.
It's too high.
We didn't die on Monday.
5 green and 2 red. Very good. Okay, so you're just gonna sort of
Well, actually, correct.
you're gonna persuade the guard and sort of dispense with any. You're just gonna tell them the straight talk and.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Did you roll?
Oh, I'm sorry, I rolled fortune and then I forgot that I need to actually roll for
Persuasion.
this. Fuck. 9.
We have a token that we have plentiful.
I will give it a shot, sure. 11.
11. Okay.
9/11.
Yes.
Just
So,
Crash and burn.
cool the free association.
so what exactly do you say to him as he's sort of standing there, looking very nonplussed?
I will simply say that my friends and I have been hired on behalf of Lady Nora to go in search of our husband, who has been missing for the last 2 days, and we were simply wondering if the tavern might have any connection to his disappearance.
I appreciate your concerns, miss. Don't think I'm not sympathetic, I am. But I've got a job to do and general public to keep out of this place. Now, if, for instance, there were a sort of an agreement between the two of us that you could, let's say you happen to drop a coin in the street and I decide to go over and fetch that coin and momentarily look away from the door to the tavern, well, I don't see why that would be too big of an issue.
Trying very hard not to visibly roll her eyes.
I don't think we're there.
Alright.
Oh, I guess I was going to throw the coins like far away, but I guess since I rolled a 1, they're at his feet. Dang it!
Well, how much are you throwing?
Like 3 gold coins.
Okay. So he's... Is he with you?
Technically.
And he sort of awkwardly stoops down and picks up the 3 gold coins and just throwing them a bit in his hand, kind of lightly juggling them. And I will take a quick look around the perimeter, and I expect you all to be gone by the time I get back. Is that clear?
And I would walk up
Here.
and shake his hand, but as I shook his hand, they would palm him another gold coin just kind of as a thank you. Appreciate
For
your
dealing
patronage.
with this.
As you approach him with your hand outstretched, he backs up. He's like, oh, no, I don't think I will. We need to be very clear that you cannot come in here, and you're not meant to be in this part of our investigation. It'd be best if we kept our distance.
Okay. Then as I stepped away, I would just let one slip out of my palm into the ground and walk away from it. It's good for me to have good relationships.
You see him
with-
that he, as he's walking away and tracing
just
around,
running.
he picks up that.
Yeah,
kind of
like
gold
for me,
coin.
this is a networking thing.
Makes sense.
Okay, the guard takes a wide berth around the tavern, and the door is ready-made for you to just jump right in.
Alright.
All right.
Okay, so inside the Blue Lagoon are obvious signs of a struggle. Chairs have been knocked over. There's a table overturned. The commotion, however, seems to have been focused in a particular corner of the room, the back right-hand corner. You can see that there's an array of broken glass, probably from a bottle of alcohol, that's shattered on the ground. There's a goblet lying on the floor.
I thought you said a goblin for a
It's a
second.
goblin lying
Dead goblin.
He's dead. You find dried
Casualty of-
liquid on the ground, and you see some darker spots that, at a glance, may or may not be blood.
Blood or wine.
Goblin blood.
Goblin blood.
So we all managed to get inside?
Yeah, we bribed the guard.
Who's got good investigation?
Does
I've
anybody
got pretty good
intelligent?
investigation.
I'll help you.
So tell me what you're looking at first.
Well, I guess I'm going to look at the blood to see if it looks like it was enough to kill somebody, if there's any directionality to it.
Now, I can go ahead and tell you, if you're drawing closer and just kind of looking at the blood, I can tell you some basic information. If you want to know a little bit more, you have to succeed on a medicine check.
Okay. Medicine's not what I do.
Okay. Well, you can see as you approach and get closer that, sure enough, these dark, dried spots, yeah, that's clearly blood. And humanoid blood, it looks like, the traditional sort of claret kind of color.
Right.
You see there's a lot of blood splatter and some small spots here and there, as if there was, say, impact damage or what have you. But there doesn't appear to be a large enough pool or a large enough quantity to indicate that probably somebody died on site, at the very least.
You found a wound?
I found blood.
You see that there's a trail of it leading behind the counter and towards the back door.
Okay, can I search that area with investigation?
You mean the back door, you mean?
Around the corner and back door.
You don't even need to. You can just... I mean, it's very obvious
trail.
right there.
I mean, for anything else.
Sure, yeah. Go ahead.
Alright, you still helping me?
Sure, although I'm not sure what else there is to find. Let's find out.
So that would be a 19.
Okay. Based on the streaking, essentially, that you can see from that blood trail coming around the behind the counter and out the back door, it looks like someone was probably dragged out of the back.
Can I tell the general size of that person?
No, it's difficult to tell.
So it could be small or medium.
It looks like it could be a heavy small creature or a average medium creature. I mean, but you're looking at probably a humanoid figure of an average height and weight. Something
You said we'd need a medicine check to learn anything about the blood?
to learn more about the blood. Yeah.
17.
Nice.
On what?
Medicine.
Medicine.
Roll.
Okay.
Let me know if you're doing that,
Taking a closer look at the blood,
because I could help.
you know that based on the blood splatter, based on the amount of blood that you're finding at the scene, whoever was injured, person or persons, they must be still alive. But they were hurt bad enough that they would probably need medical attention, healing of some kind, based on what it seems consistent with your findings.
Well, whoever it is, they're still alive, but they definitely did enough damage to at least get them unconscious. They'll probably took him somewhere where he needs attention. His
All the
wounds
easier
sewed
to
up.
drag him out the door.
Anybody here have healing abilities?
Yes.
I do. That's good.
So they made use of a healer a couple nights ago that gives us something to go off.
Yeah, he probably needed immediate attention, so he
That's
probably
assuming
needed to
this
see a
is from
doctor.
him
Yes.
and not someone else.
What's everyone's passive perception about it?
14.
12.
11.
13.
I was always waiting for you whenever you get
Okay.
a chance.
Are you doing now? I know that Oreana and Welf went directly to sort of the bloodied area in the back, but are the rest of you making a kind of like a general sweep of
Just
the
general
tavern? Just
perception.
taking
Yeah.
a look? Okay.
Would that
You don't
be
have to. You don't
perception?
even have to roll
No?
for that.
Okay.
You just all this stuff
Sure.
is pretty obvious. You see that specifically. See you as you're making your way sort of around the overturned table and the overturned chairs and things. You find a large scrap of cloth that is actively shifting in color, like sort of going through various gradients. It's got some intricate stitching on the inside, and
It's got many colors.
and the colors
Technical color.
indicate that this is probably from an article of glamour weave clothing.
Okay. So somebody expensive. God, this guy's an idiot.
Is that part of his outfit?
Glamour weave clothing, has got basically illusions woven directly into the fabric, and
Mhm.
so it can provide not only, incredibly vivid colors, but
But it can help you hide.
animated effects and that sort of thing. It's a fashion thing, but it's also an entertainment thing. It's not uncommon for street performers, if they're of a particular well-off, or
Their coat is moving.
actors, or in certain sort of formal ceremonies and things like that, for people to wear those kind of ostentatious things.
Okay.
And it looks like, based on the cloth that you found, that it's a hard rip, given the exterior edges, and probably damaged the entire garment in the process.
And that
This wasn't a simple cut. This was,
And that wasn't near like the back corner. That was somewhere else.
Well, no, if it's in the general sort of
General
vicinity,
area.
right?
Because I
So-
didn't know if it was like caught on the upper table while it was being dragged.
If this was someone's garment, it would be broken, for lack of a better word.
Not necessarily,
'Cause
but the
it's
garment
still-
itself would be
Damage.
damaged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd very clearly have a pretty sizable hole in like a sleeve, or perhaps a skirt, or who knows, what kind of article of clothing it is. But it's a sizable chunk. You can hold it in the palm of your hand. And
No,
But like
pocket
this,
it.
this is still like it still has the illusion magic.
it's
in
still
its
working.
clothes.
It's still
Yeah.
very slowly sort of undulating in terms of color. But as you pick this up, you become aware of this smell in the room. It was previously sort of masked by the sort of the ambient smell of broken alcohol bottles and like the general sort of odor de tavern,
Yeah.
right?
The
But
twilight.
you suddenly get this acrid smell of sour, probably. It smells like cologne or perfume or something. And there's also this smell of decay. Like, you can't tell if that's like food or plants or something like that, but there's this stench of rot as well.
Okay.
Eisenzahn.
The actual reason this tavern's been closed is for health code violations.
Eisenzahn, as you are taking a look through the tavern, you see that the broken shards of glass on the floor, mixed in with those shards of glass and some pieces of silverware that aren't actually silver,
Somewhere.
are pieces of which you identify as porcelain. As you are sifting through them and you begin sort of fetching the porcelain pieces, you realize that by sort of putting them together in a sort of a close proximity, you can see that they appear to be part of a larger mask, humanoid-sized mask, with a pattern in red paint that looks very much like a dragon mark.
Interesting.
So it's sort of a porcelain white, sort of neutral kind of mask, but with a pattern on it that looks like, of red paint, of a dragon mark. Not the same as Oriana's facial mark, but clearly a dragon mark of some kind.
I'd imagine each one is kind of unique.
Yes. Well, I mean, they have similarities depending on, like, the house's bloodlines. Like, people who have the same mark, like the mark of passage or whatever, they might generally look the same. But
So is it like a white porcelain mask with the red marks on it, or is it only is the porcelain shaped in the dragon mask?
no, it's a full mask
It's a full
with
mask.
red paint on it.
What way if we roll to see if any of us know the house with which that mark goes?
History.
Yeah.
Ooh, you want to call me over for that?
Yeah. Because that's not a thing that I have.
Let's see. Would this apply to artificers? Or would the artificer's lore be applicable for this?
16.
I think that's fair. What are you rolling?
History.
Okay.
I mean, I work for a library procuring books, and
I
I'm
got
an artificer.
21.
Let's see what we
Okay.
have.
No.
Or no, a 19.
24.
Nice.
Yeah.
We rocked it.
So the three of you are looking at this thing, and with your heads put together, you realize that this isn't a quote unquote official dragon mark.
So it'd be an aberrant dragon mark.
No, not that either.
It's a knockoff.
It's clearly an artist's interpretation of a
Artist
dragon mark.
rendition.
It's meant to be
Artistic.
Theatrical?
it's meant to be nondescript, right? It doesn't resemble like a mark of passage or a mark of detection or whatever, like a proper dragon mark. But it also doesn't look like the actual aberrant dragon marks that you'll sometimes see on people. It's just sort of like as if somebody created a new letter. They've created a new dragon mark, right? The pattern and the shapes and everything don't match any of the ones that you're aware of.
This probably goes with whoever was wearing that cape.
As
Coat.
Wait, who had the highest check on that?
24.
24. You realize that you've seen this pattern before.
Okay.
There have been a couple of posters around a few parts of Sharn. You know that there's a troupe of performers who wear these masks regularly as they do their sort of theatrical business. They have sporadic shows in Lower Dura, specifically in a place called CallSession.
How do you spell that?
CallSestan.
Would I be able to roll a perception to see if I can find whatever smells quite so acridly? A smell of death?
Sure.
If it's coming from
Yes.
somewhere. Or
Given that I'm part cat, I would happily help you because it's probably driving me nuts.
Do I get any more information on that? On the trip?
No, that's just something that you weren't actively looking into. It's just you happen to see the posters around town. You go, okay.
Okay.
It suddenly
Connection.
clicks, like, oh, I've seen that mask before.
I will share this
Yeah.
information with the group.
21.
Fucking carnies.
You realize that the smell doesn't seem to be coming from any particular place in the tavern. It just sort of permeates the place. As if something was in here, it smelled like that, and sort of soaked the place.
This is like a high school boys' locker room.
No. There's not ass.
It just permeates, though. There's not a specific.
Well, yeah,
place.
it seems like there was something in here that smelled of this sour perfume rot sort of combination.
Okay. So I
and
might
now it's gone.
kind of intertwining them with whatever the perfume is. The rot's kind of part of that almost. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to go to lower Dora.
Yeah.
Oh,
I had 14.
Mal, you notice that they're stuck in the corner of the room, slightly obscured by an overturned chair, is what looks like a purse, sort of a drawstring purse, stuck in the corner of the room, like in between sort of the wall and one of the planks of the floor, and some coins have spilled out of it.
I will grab it and grab the coins, pop it open, and see if there's any identification.
You are in luck because inside are the sort of palm-sized identification papers of a Lord Dwarven Irul.
Nice.
And in various coinage, Galifars and Platinum Dragons, you see 211 gold pieces.
I will sniff it and see if it smells the same as
Cologne.
the
Perfume.
cloth.
It's difficult to tell because the whole place, now
Stinks.
that C has brought your attention to it and you've sort of become
Everything
aware of it,
smells
the whole place kind of just smells like it.
Okay.
The purse itself doesn't seem to smell any more strongly of this
Okay,
than any other part.
cool.
So it's not a robbery, unless they expect to get more out of a ransom.
It could have just fallen and they thought they had it.
It's
I
in
mean,
the
it was
corner
kinda
behind a
shoved in
chair,
there.
though.
Yeah, as if it had been.
Just dropped.
It looks like if it had been dropped or knocked out of somebody's hand or something like that, and it just kind of gotten stuck over there in the corner of the room where the struggle seemed to have mostly taken place.
They could have gotten interrupted and had to leave it. They could have dropped when they're in the
Probably
struggle.
just figured that they'd get more money out of his wife.
It's okay.
Either way.
You're assuming that they're interested in him beyond what they can do to him.
Yeah,
If he did, he probably he could have ran his mouth.
It's okay.
people don't get ransomed a lot here.
They could have just gotten interrupted killing him in the middle of the bar and taken him somewhere else to finish the job.
Well, we
People
won't know
around here
until
don't
we
like nobles.
find
so.
who took him or where he is.
And it seems that the circus may be our best bet for witnesses. Should we agree?
From what you
Yes,
remember about the
cloth.
posters, like, and this is sort of almost subliminal information, that they were a troupe of, it looked like actors and maybe an acrobat or two, sort of a general purpose sort of performance troupe that was more about, less circus oriented and more sort of drama and comedy oriented, you know.
So not even like Circus Olay, a little bit still more performative
More like your traditional acting troupe.
theater.
Yeah.
troupe with a little bit more acrobatics.
Lower door.
Great.
Let's go find one of their shows.
Oh yeah.
So you still have the as Oreana noticed, and a lot of you became aware of this sort of streak of blood around the counter and about through the back door that you can still investigate.
So they can,
Well, shall we follow where the blood at least?
Well, we should leave by the back door anyway.
yeah,
True.
we're not supposed to be here, sort of thing.
See where this leads, and then
Yeah, let's go out
If
the
we
back door
lose
and
track.
follow the trail
See if we
at
can
the
find
same time.
Okay.
goes down.
You push through the back door into a narrow alley behind the Blue Lagoon. The smell is a, unfortunately, newly distinct kind of unpleasant. There are puddles of stagnant water leading from the mouth of the alley towards the door. You can see, now that you've opened the door, a few spots of dried blood. You can see a smear along one wall heading away. And as you're sort of looking around, Linney, you spot that there seems to be a figure huddled behind some crates where the alley meets the street. This figure is sitting and partially obscured from view.
I will approach cautiously. Hand not quite on the hilt of my rapier, but
Nearby.
Yeah.
Okay. As you draw closer and are able to sort of clear your vision, you can see around the crates. It looks like a disheveled figure, a stout human man with thinning hair and rags on, essentially. Clearly a homeless person or a beggar of some kind.
Okay. I will relax a bit then. Approach and say, "Excuse me, sir."
He shrinks away and nervously. What is it? What do you want?
Are you all right?
Yeah. I'm fine. You just scared me. So.
Sorry. Have you noticed anything strange going on in this alley? We saw a trail of blood leading out here, and we were wondering what was going on with that.
I don't think I know nothing about that.
Are you sure? You will
Do you want to make
pat my coin.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Do you want to offer him something, or do you want to make a persuasion roll, or both?
Everybody that we encounter, you just literally throw gold at them.
I got the Gil toss.
I will I'll offer him a
Yeah,
gold
you
piece.
throw coins and he dies.
He
I'm like,
sees the gold gleaming in your hand,
hand.
takes it gently but eagerly. And,
I didn't mean to crit.
thank you.
Because I do +3.
Thank you. I'll be glad to tell you whatever you need to know. When about did this happen?
Two nights ago?
2 nights ago, he disappeared.
Yeah. I remember there were 5 of them. They came out that door there. A couple of them had these masks on, and like the kind you wear at the theater, right? Mm-hmm. With the red marks on them. They look Dragonmarked kind of thing. And one of them was hurt pretty bad. He was bleeding over there, and another one was out cold, and he was 2 of the other ones are carrying him out. Now I followed them for a bit. I was curious. And they went straight for the lifts. I thought maybe I'd have a chance to, pocket something. And they weren't paying attention to, so they hurried along. I heard that the one who's bleeding, he wanted to go straight up to cliff top to find a healer. And so they split up. Now, after that, it was just nowhere to hide on the lift, so I let them go. I watched them from the shadow here, and came back to my spot and called it a day.
So the ones that weren't injured went down. Is that right?
Or all of them?
They were all heading up.
They were all heading up.
At least it seemed like it.
Well,
Now they could have gotten off of that lift somewhere else and taken who knows where.
I thought you said they split up.
They did split up.
How so?
Well, they all got in the lift and they went up. A fella said cliff top, but I'm not sure. They said they were going to split up after that or before that. I don't know. I just heard them say they were going to split up, but they all got in the same lift together.
Okay.
Okay.
They didn't get on different lifts.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. You've been very helpful. And I'll take some of the coins out of the noble's purse and give him like 5 of them.
Nice.
I wanted to give him a platinum, and I realized if a homeless man has a platinum, that would look very
Yeah.
bad.
So what? Sorry, what did you get?
I just gave him like 5 of the gold.
Thank you. You've been real generous. Listen, you probably gonna need this. And he reaches back into the folds of his clothes and produces this this obsidian like badge almost. It's sort of about the size of like a brooch or something like that. It's this sort of black, jagged, kind of vaguely triangular shape with what looks like a reddish shard in the center of it, about in the shape of a two-dimensional kind of diamond shape, and there are sort of striations going from the actual the shard itself out through the obsidian, and he shakily hands it to you. Yes.
Now, do I know what this is?
You can make a
Arcana or
religion check.
Since I have it in my hand, 17.
I only got a 16.
Could I swing an Artificer's Lore and make it a history check?
Yes.
Damn it. It's a 7. I rolled a 2.
So the icon itself, you've never. I mean, this just doesn't ring a bell. It's clearly a symbol of some kind, but to what, you're unsure. After he hands this piece to you, Welf, he says, one of the fellows, the masked fellows, dropped that. I thought I was gonna keep it, maybe pawn it off, but you folks have been so generous. I thought you might need it for whatever you're getting into.
How much would you like for it?
No, you folks have done plenty enough. I appreciate it. I'll be able to eat pretty good on this for a little while.
A quick question.
Right.
All the people that came out, were all of them wearing a mask?
No.
How many of them didn't have a mask?
There's one fella who they had with him.
The one being dragged?
It was
Someone else.
he was the injured fella.
Okay.
Hold on now. There were 5 of them. One was bleeding. One was knocked out. Yeah, the one who was out cold. He wasn't wearing one of them robes. He was dressed pretty nice like.
But the rest of them had masks.
The rest of them wore robes and no fancy masks and everything.
Was someone else carrying an extra?
Except that one of them didn't have a mask. I remember this. The one that was hurt, he didn't have his mask on.
Okay.
Now this is
Alright, it's okay if you don't remember everything.
I didn't get a good look at his face. The lights around here are not great, but I knew because I could see that bright white wasn't reflecting off like everybody else.
Okay.
Got knocked off during the scuffle.
So it sounds like our friend is not the injured one.
Well, I mean,
Well,
he's
he's knocked
unconscious.
out.
He's the unconscious one.
They probably
Unconscious, and then there was the bleeding one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably got in a
it was-
fight.
It probably took some effort to subdue him.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm saying our friend may not be nearly as injured as
So we know the
as
who,
we thought.
and we know the when. Now we need to figure out the where.
I said Cliffside.
Well,
Take
the injured one.
The injured guy to Cliffside.
But the rest of them.
They were headed to Clifftop to find a healer.
Clifftop.
But
Is that another district or is that a section of this
That'd be
district?
That's another section.
Okay.
Clifftop specifically is It's in the upper ward in Dura.
Okay, so it's
So we're going
still
to
in
upper
Dura.
You're still in Dura. You just
Yeah.
have to
Okay,
make
so
your way up. Up and sort of north.
Okay.
But supposedly only one of them went there, the injured one, because they said they was going to split up.
So did they all just go up in the elevator and then stay in the elevator and then go back down? You think, or
Elevators have more than one exit point. I'm sure
I
they
mean,
got off at one point and
if-
then another.
If they were all going to the upper floor, and one of them was going to the cliffside, the others could have went somewhere else on that floor.
We could go to Clifftop and try to pick up the trail on the injured one from there, or we could try to catch one of their shows or figure out where they're staying.
The injured one is weak and slow and will be easy to track and follow. And from him we can find the others.
Well, depending on how bad he's injured.
Anyone who is injured must wait to be healed.
there was
Unless
a
they
lot
have a
of money.
good sum of money.
And if he was injured enough that they took him up.
He needed immediate attention.
Alright, let's go to Clifftop then.
Alright.
Okay, so you're going to Upper Dura to go to Clifftop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Anybody else have any idea what that thing is?
I had
Not
a
a clue.
17 with my relation.
Had a
but-
And he said you still hadn't.
Yeah, still hadn't
Still
identified,
hadn't.
so we could ask some priests, but
Ahead to what, though?
And I might be able to.
Death, apparently.
Apparently.
Might be able to pitch some sort of looking for my brother sort of thing. Make a pretty good sister.
Well,
or we could just go with the mass, looking for the people with the
I
masks.
think we should start with House Jorasako. And see if we can find some information on this.
To put what Oriana said into context, House Jarasco is the house that does healing in basically the whole continent. Like, that's their whole thing. Priests and clerics obviously dabble in it and stuff like that, but House has got a monopoly on healing services, right? Now Oriana, that as a part of accepting House Jarasco's sort of healing services, it not only costs money, but it also introduces a lot of questions that that less than legal operators would want to avoid at all costs. So that this talk of the bleeding one heading to Clifftop makes a lot of sense, because Clifftop is an area that has got a high concentration of adventurers specifically, and their accident-prone lifestyle lends itself to there being medics and healers working there at all hours of the day and night, and they operate on. It's very much a quick, close place to get some medical attention without any unwanted
So it'd
questions.
be like the difference between going to an actual hospital and a street doc.
Yeah, like to a proper hospital and a mob doctor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're more likely to find like a mob doctor or a street doctor in Clifftop, right?
Okay. So forget everything I just said.
Let's
Done.
let's head to Clifftop.
So, another 30 minutes goes by. And Clifftop is in Upper Dura. Even though it is an upper ward, it's still part of Dura. Where other upper wards that you're familiar with are bright and sort of freestanding and everything, Clifftop is made up of drab granite, simple towers. It's very utilitarian in that sense. The heart of the district is the Adventurers Guild, however, and the adventuring, both the adventurers themselves and their liveliness, if you will, the color that they bring to the area, more than makes up for the buildings and the architecture's drabbery,
Banners everywhere.
As you're making your way through the district, you see that
Home sweet home.
2 half-orcs from across the street begin
Makes
making
one
their
more.
way... Yeah. Begin making their way, obviously, towards you with intent. You see one is slightly shorter than the other one, is sort of like receding hair, and the other one is completely bald. They are covered in what is clearly like leather armors, and they're obviously armed, right? You see that the bald one, he actually pulls out this heavy cudgel and begins sort of slapping it against his palm. Who's in front of this crew? Okay. So he approaches you, Welf, and he takes his...
Did you pin that brooch to yourself, or are you just
I
carrying it in your
think
pocket?
I'm just like carrying it about. Like,
He nudges you a little bit with the cudgel, and he says, "We know you met with Murdoch top of the morning. That snake owes us money.
so we're supposed to pay the troll toll.
Your purse now, or we'll knock you down, and we'll take it later, your choice."
This isn't our money and debt that needs to be paid.
Perhaps you didn't hear me. Slap.
I heard you. I'm just unimpressed.
You can see that the figure who raises his cudgel and goes to actually strike you across the face with it. Please roll finished.
Boom.
I mean, you didn't have to insult him.
I know. I was debating. I'm like, do I want to be like
19.
extremely like?
God damn it.
That's a little racism.
No, it's very racist.
You said 19, Linney?
Yep.
Troll toll.
They're orcs.
Half orcs.
Half orcs too.
What did you get, Linney?
4.
Oh my god.
5 for Mal.
That's
I got a
wolf.
6.
We rolled for initiative because they insulted some half
A 6?
They wanted our boss's money.
What the hell I speak work?
Steven,
I can walk us out of that.
0.
I said
Yeah.
Literal
it was
zero.
for troll toll. It wasn't. Half.
Wait, what did you get?
It was,
0.
It wasn't half.
Oh, yes.
I-
They're negative dexterity.
He did.
Mhm.
He did poke me with his stick
I think
before. I
that
said
renders
so.
you inert. You are just unable to do anything.
It's like looking at the fight, like
19.
all of this is kind of pointless.
Getting a 0 in initiative should just instantly trigger your executive dysfunction and render you unable
The two of you.
to perform any actions whatsoever.
What's your dexterity modifier?
3.
Okay, so we'll say that C goes first. Okay, so C, you have the upper hand here. You see one of these, the bald, taller half-orc thug whipping his cudgel towards Oreana, ready to sort of strike her across the face.
There's no chance I could try to talk them down an orc.
I mean, this guy's at least going to get one hit in before
What's
before
the
the
distance?
diplomacy works.
See,
Distance between
I
me
wanted to
and
throw the
swinging guy.
coins at his
You guys
feet
are like
again,
right at each other.
but
There's not even a
poked
question
me,
of movement.
So,
Alright.
so I just want to go. Ugh.
Got a thing against
So-
touching?
To just pull my short sword out from my waist and swing, would that be... I guess since I don't really need to move, would I be able to do all that in one turn?
Yeah, it's just an attack action.
Cool.
In that case.
And orcs are not humanoid, are they?
They're humanoid.
They are humanoid?
They are humanoid.
Especially because they're half orc.
Even orcs are humanoid.
Yeah.
That's true.
If you're looking at like ranger bonuses,
Yeah, they're humanoid.
yeah. Just depends on what version of ranger. If you have to specifically select
Oh, yeah,
Orcs.
he's using a... He had...
human
He,
or orc.
Yeah.
He's got the advantage on initiative, so he's
Okay.
using
Hmm.
our bonus.
Okay.
You also
So
have
that doesn't-
advantage on creatures who have not acted.
That haven't attacked it on my first attack, yeah. Well, let's see what we got. And that's got a finesse.
You
So,
can go.
Well, if you want to get technical, the guy's attacking already, but
Okay.
That's true.
I mean,
Technically,
that's what I rolled, even without that, then 10.
He has a 10.
Plus 15 to hit.
15?
Yeah.
That hits.
Okay. And then damage is 1d6 plus 2. Let's do a purple. The other ones have been just, of course. 3 damage.
3 damage. Okay.
So we're not going to roll another purple dice today.
Isn't it 4?
Nah, for the
You have a -1.
the one short sword just for damage is 1d6. Plus 2.
+2?
Yeah. Oh, I guess I added my dexterity mod. So,
So would it be +5 then?
5 damage. 6 damage.
6 damage.
Which is it?
I did 6 damage. I
6.
forgot that you add dexterity mod with finesse weapons to damage. Yep. That was my bad.
Okay, so what weapon are you wielding?
Short
sword. So you draw your short sword across in a kind of like a sort of a samurai cut, right? You strike the bottom interior area of his forearm. You see there's a kind of a gout of blood. There's a deep cut. You see that he recoils and grabs his wrist, avoiding striking Oreana, but now his attention is turned on you. Linney, what do you want to do?
It's okay, this fight will be over before I have a turn. By that,
Um,
Well, I rolled good with a 6 because I go before all of you.
Seeing that C has landed a blow and effectively caused the half-orc to withdraw his weapon for the moment,
pull back.
I will just
That's
I'll draw my rapier and like hold it in his direction, but I won't actually go for a stab.
Okay.
And we'll say, we are not paying that scumbag's money. You get his money from him. I will attempt an intimidation roll.
Okay. Roll intimidation.
We're all consistent. Don't take from us. We don't want to hurt you.
You can get his money. You just have to get it from him.
We don't care.
We haven't been paid yet.
Just don't kill him.
Nice. 19.
Unless if you want us to put it on his tab, take it out of his cut.
I don't trust him enough.
He's got bad credit.
Yes, he's
He's a
got
bad
Clearly,
credit
that's
score.
why we're being harassed.
Somehow he redirected the collector's call to us.
So you see the bald thug, the taller one, sort of back up a little bit, but the one behind him, the shorter one, balding one, you see draws a mace and sort of bats your sword out of the way. It's clear that he, at least, is ready to fight.
I was
Yes.
super excited. I thought we were going to see a gnome intimidate a bunch of half.
Speaking of which, the balding thug who
Short
comes
person
forward
now.
with his mace attempts to strike you, Linney.
Okay.
Let's see here. Oh, that is a 22 to hit you.
Yeah.
That is
Ooh.
8 bludgeoning damage.
I have 9 hit points.
As this mace comes across and bashes
He
you.
is not impressed.
Very clearly not.
Seeing this mace attack and this heavy blow done to the tiny one, the taller bald half-orc gets a little bit of vigor and vim back into him.
I can do this.
He takes his cudgel and swings it at you.
It's probably going to hit. It's probably going to happen.
It is a 19 to hit,
Yeah.
6 bludgeoning damage.
My first, the campaign that I debuted this character in, we were in like a Colosseum fight, and she used the Dissonant Whispers on a winter wolf, and the audience thought it was hilarious to watch it like cowering in fear from this little. How tall is she? She's like 3 foot something.
Right.
3'4" gnome in like pink frilly lace clothing.
Well, that makes it. Yeah, that's an important detail. But
Pink friend.
Oriana, you're actually up.
Alright, I take out my sword.
Intimidating tiny support
And-
lesbian.
They're both in reach of me, right?
Hmm.
So I'll attack the one that's been injured.
Okay. Yeah, the bald one.
So that's a 14.
That's a hit.
Okay. Let's see. Where's the detail? So that is 11 damage.
Hmm.
Glad to see some of this do damage.
What are you using?
It's mechanically a long sword, but I'm saying it's a bastard sword, so two-handed.
It's a pretty heavy slash to this guy. He takes it after the mace thing. His arm is wide open, leaving his his torso open, and it takes a big strike across. There's another gout of blood, and he backs up a little bit. He's sort of clutching it now. It's an actively sort of bleeding wound.
Oh man, I should have cast one of my cantrips.
Yeah. You don't want to be a brain flame.
Mal.
Okay. I'm trying to get to this now.
Scrolling
Page
furiously.
120. Give me a second.
Can you
What
scroll from the
spells-
side?
What page? What book is it in?
What spell do you need?
It's the almanac from this one. It's cost damage.
Oh, that's one from the Adventurer's Almanac. In the
Hold on, on page 80. Give me a second. I was trying so desperately to get there quickly. I'm sorry, guys.
We managed to not kill them too fast.
Yeah,
You
man.
survived.
Well, is the one orc still up?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both up.
I mean, they're half orc.
They're
Okay,
tough.
I'm there. Okay.
They're big boys.
I also call bullshit
Please let
on
me.
a quarter.
Oh, you're wonderful. You're my favorite. Thank you. You already knew that. Okay, so they're pretty close to me, right?
For all intents and purposes, this is a theater of the mind style fight.
Melee
So
range.
you're all within range of everybody. You know,
At
it's all
least
this sort of
walking
like
range.
it's this scuffle, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
We're a flash mob who's just like.
I mean, that's not a bad comparison. Except people might want you to be there.
That's not what I wanted. Whatever. I'm just going to take out my sword cane and
Sword
cane.
out of cane.
yeah, I'm gonna
Nice.
take my sword out of my
Bless
cane and slashy slash
At which one?
the one that's injured.
Okay.
That is a 17.
17 to hit. Yes, that is.
And it's a finesse weapon, so I add dex to it.
Mhm.
Yes.
Or I add.
Well, you have
my-
a choice.
I add
You can
my.
do strength or dex.
No, I definitely want to use dex.
When people take finesse weapons, that's usually what they want.
I rolled a 1 too, like Zach. 6 damage.
6 damage.
Still pretty good.
Okay, pretty good cut as the bald orc, half orc, I should say, is surprised by the appearance of a sword out of what he previously mistook as a cane. Welf.
Fuck, that guy's still going.
It's just like pulling it from the back, going down on. I guess I'll go with the bald guy. That poor bald guy. The bald one.
The one who's
Well,
been
if he-
taking most of it, all of the blows.
If he died, then he wouldn't have to take any more of the blows. I'm just saying.
See, we do need a butch lesbian.
What's 23?
I miscalculated.
We didn't expect to start off with some orcs that can take 23 damage and keep swinging.
That is.
That's why there's only 2 of them.
I think Linney's more of a femme for femme lesbian though, so
That's 7 damage.
7 damage, okay.
I'll have to find a way
What are
to...
you using again? I'm sorry.
Great sword.
Another
I guess I wanted to
sizable
get
cut.
her
This guy
and
is basically
Rowan
bleeding
into
like a
some
stuck
camping,
pig
because
at this
Rowan's
point.
my butch lesbian.
He's still up, but he looks
I
like
don't think they would be into
like
each
a
other,
stiff
but I think they would
breeze
do a
might be
good
able to knock
balance.
him down.
Mm-hmm.
Play off each other.
Eisenzahn, you're finally up.
Giant, hulking, scarred, eye missing
These
butch lesbian fighter.
the
and then
spinning
really
beach
tiny
ball
little
of death is finally
prissy
cleared,
gnome girl probably
and you're
sitting
ready
on
to
your
go.
shoulder.
I will just
Reminds me of
take out
My
a
halfling
small
who
little
got-
chime
Mm-hmm.
who was.
I'd look
carried
at the
around
bald
by your
man.
character.
Oh yeah.
and give it a
Yeah.
soft little ring. He needs to
Elven
make a
barbarian.
wisdom save DC 12.
He will do so.
You're playing an artificer?
I'm gonna give him advantage.
Cleric.
Oh, that's right.
Wisdom
That's the
save.
one trying to just help you out.
Yeah.
He rolled
That's how
a
you shake
16.
hands.
Alright, I believe that's no effect. Yep, no effect.
If it's a cantrip, yeah.
The bald thug appears to be too busy bleeding from almost every possible location to pay attention to the ringing of your bell.
Death calls, but he's too.
Now we're back up
It's like
to
too constant. He can't.
He can't even ask for whom the bell tolled.
Uh-huh.
C, it's your turn.
I'm gonna flip one of the tokens.
Okay.
You can do it.
See if maybe I can.
I presume you were going to flip one of your own and not one of mine.
I mean, if I had the option.
I mean, you can make it harder for yourself. I don't care.
Okay, so. The 13 hits.
Yes. These guys aren't particularly well armored.
Well,
They've got leathers on.
My dice aren't rolling particularly well either, so.
There you
Alright,
go, that's
that's 11 damage.
11 damage. Okay. So you have killed this man.
Taking his head off.
Nice.
So the
That
bald
short
man.
sword?
So the bald man, bleeding from
He
is
several
sunk low
deep
enough for him
cuts.
to reach.
Oh yeah, changeling.
You strike with your short sword. You see it cut clean across the neck, deep enough so that you can see the weight of his head actually causes the head to fall backwards and essentially rip off of the back and fall.
Well, it's a piercing weapon, so
To
he
the straight.
stabbed his head off.
I'm okay with that.
You can see
Could
that
have through
You
the
like
side.
skewer and then
Could have been through the
Yeah.
side.
you can see the other shorter half orc with the patchier hair, clearly horrified, but is now like digging in with his heels, trying to
Was
make
he-
things better for himself.
was he the one who resisted the intimidation
No.
before? Okay.
You've been killing. No, he is. Yes,
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
been killing the guy who was intimidated.
Oh, oops! We should have gone for the other poor guy.
Linney.
Well,
you're up
no. Hey,
I have
he
a,
wasn't back in the fight.
yeah, I have a problem with
Yeah,
walking
well,
away from fights.
I figured, if we got the other guy, then
And he
give-
was the one that tried to strike first.
So how do we make Lenny not
So
die?
I think he was the one
is
that
anybody?
poked him in the
Wait,
chest.
I gotta remember how
Or
healing
you.
word works.
Yeah.
It's
You.
just the one person, right?
Yep, one person, one
Use it on
d4
myself.
plus as a bonus
I
action.
will healing word myself.
Okay, nice little motivational speech.
Yeah. D4. I gotta actually dig out my dice here.
Pull out a pocket mirror.
Small Japanese fisherman.
Talk well to yourself. Talk to yourself.
looking good, looking good.
Don't mind that blood. It's fine.
You're good enough,
Everything's okay.
smart
It's all
enough
fine.
from
Everything's
talking
fine.
at people like
It'll
you.
come out. It'll come out.
People like
I
you.
just need some baking soda.
So it should be D4 plus
Thank you,
your charisma.
I get all my hit points back.
Yay.
That is half of my spell slots.
But you might not die.
Okay.
And then that's a bonus action,
Yep.
so I will use my other action to use my Blade Ward cantrip,
Okay.
which gives me
Makes it disadvantage to hit you or a target.
does
I
it
get
give-
resistance against bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage dealt by weapon attacks.
You're a
We'll
durable
stick
little
that
gnome.
Seems good.
Until the end of my next turn. So
Okay. It is the single balding half-orc's turn. Seeing intimidated by C's decapitation, of his friend, he will attempt the next best thing and try to beat Oreana to death.
Okay.
Be Oriana, not the person who actually killed the poor sap.
That is a 15 damage.
No.
Takes a swing and misses. Clearly still unsteadied by the horror he's just witnessed. Oriana, it's actually your turn now.
Okay.
Riposte him.
Let's see. I'll return the favor, but I'll cast Green Flame Blade.
Okay, sounds good.
So
I do.
that's an 18 to hit.
That definitely hits.
Okay, let's get 10. So that is 8 points of damage, and he is surrounded by green flame.
Okay, 8 points. And he's surrounded by green flame. Okay, so you strike him. He takes a very clear blow across one of the arms and the upper torso, and then this wreath of flame erupts around him. You can see that the sort of panicked bravery that was in his eyes is now beginning to die down as it's being replaced by the reflection of green flame. Mal.
I will slash you slash.
Through the wreath of flame? Just hope you hit something?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, doesn't mean I can't hit him, right?
No, yeah.
If he's still alive by his turn, I hope he decides to run away.
No, that's Booming Blade.
23 hits.
No, Green Blade. Flame Blade is the same thing, except it does fire damage.
No, green does the damage to the
It's 11
adjacent
damage.
fighter.
What now?
11 damage.
11 damage.
The green flame is you attack one person,
What'd you
and
roll to
then
hit?
a person within 5 feet takes
I rolled a 23.
fire damage.
All right, yeah. So 11 damage
You are
to our
correct.
friend.
10 more than me.
So I know what you were looking at
Okay.
that for.
Another meaty blow.
Yeah, Booming
Fire
Blade.
damage
Some of his
equal
meat
to
comes
out.
spellcasting ability mod.
Velf, you're actually back up.
I'm going to encircle him and then attack him from behind,
Okay.
just so he can't escape.
You can't really encircle him because you're one person. You can circle him.
I can circle,
Yes.
but trying, to cut off. I'm gonna use a.
Oh, you're gonna roll. Okay.
Because I don't think 10 would hit. But a 15 might.
15 does hit.
Found the magic.
Okay. I obviously didn't read that spell well.
So
You mix
11
them up.
points of damage.
Yeah.
How much?
11.
11 points of damage. Okay. You see the blade goes in, basically like cuts a
Shoulder.
like into the shoulder and down, so you can see very clearly that there's this sort of split there. He is bleeding out. Well, he's very close to bleeding out. He's in the same position that his friend was.
I'm glad my sword didn't get stuck. I'm like.
It did not get stuck. No. Eisenzahn.
I was afraid I was going to have to kick him to get the sword out.
Everything's very slow motion and tragic
Yeah.
right now.
I,
By the way.
I think at this point, he's just going to cast a spell and hold it, and then basically prep an action to cast it on the last remaining guy should he fall.
Okay.
Yeah, because the other guy can't really be spared of dying.
A little bit.
See? We're back up.
So even if I don't have dual wielding, if I have 2 light swords, I can attack with the second one without my
You just
modifier
can't add
for
the
damage,
modifier.
right?
Yes.
Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
for damage, but you still add the proficiency mod for attacking.
Yeah, the attacking is unchanged. It's the damage that changes with the offhand one.
Cool. Then I will grab my second short sword, and we'll attack with the first one, because this is the only dice that's been rolling anything. That's 13,
That hits.
and then
Now you do not add your dueling bonus
no, and this is just a
for damage.
This is the
Or-
first attack.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with the second attack.
you
That
were
would
adding
be
+2 before.
3, 5, with 7. This is human.
Oh, humanoid. That's right.
Okay, do you decapitate this one as well?
No, just right through his throat.
Oof. Okay.
That's right. Keep it going.
Short sword through the throat. The guy gurgles, slides off of the blade, collapses to the ground. And now you've got two very dead half-orcs in the streets of Clifftop in front of you.
Okay, let's go.
Spell Spare the Dying will pop off.
Okay.
Is that enough?
So the wound sort of
itself
knits
back
itself a
up.
little close. Now that leads to an
It's
unconscious,
Still unconscious.
figure. Yeah.
Yes. It's as if you had succeeded your death saving.
So you have an intact, balding half-orc next to a very dead, bald half-orc missing a head. The head's a little bit farther down the street. But it's...
Oh, good. At least one of them can actually collect on their collect on what they're owed now.
Considering the guy that we're working for, yeah, that is a good thing.
I'll slip him a note of where he can find him. Like.
Do you have that information though?
Yeah,
He was in the bar.
tavern.
He
Yeah,
told
he
us
said
to
he'd
come
get
back to
to
the
bar.
tavern.
Do you have paper?
I'd find a way.
I have paper.
Find a way. Find a way.
I have a diplomat's pack, which means I have sheets of paper, an ink pen, and a bottle of ink.
Even if I had to like write it in
And
the
sealing
ground.
wax.
Just take some of the blood coming out of the
Just
other
like
orc's
etch it.
thumb.
Look,
Just
I
like-
have the
and write it
material.
on
You can
his
just write a
chest.
note.
No, this is better. This is organic.
You might miss the piece of paper, but if his face wakes up and his face is, right there.
I have sealing wax. You can put a stamp on it.
Sealing his face.
If it's on his face, you can't see it.
Seal
unless
it
he
to
has a
his
note.
face.
No, I'm saying, lay his face on the ground and the notes on the ground, like put his
Okay,
face.
so
I'm gonna
back
keep
to
going.
trying to
Just
find.
draw a bloody dick on his face for good measure, like you're
a
hazing
dick
him.
butt.
Dick butt.
Okay, so we're looking for a healer. Now that we're all covered in blood.
Well,
You could
speak for
use some
yourself.
healing.
Yeah, you're fine. You're just chilling.
Okay, so we are going to consume one of my sheets of paper to write some form of a note.
Directions.
Go to this bar.
Ignore the bloody nose.
Whether we are
Read
using
this first.
blood or ink, I will leave up to your discretion, but we are using a sheet of paper.
Maybe both, as in the case of the couple of issues of the Kiss comic that came out in the 80s.
What?
Oh no.
It's supposed to have their... I think it's...
Supposedly.
I think that was actually a proper fact. They actually put a little bit of
Blood.
everybody's, all the members' blood. in
What the
ink.
fuck?
Yeah. Like a very, not enough to...
Just
for
like
the
a drop
point
in
of
the
the matter.
hole.
A very minute amount and a big fat,
Yeah.
whatever.
Snope says it's true.
Yeah, see.
So we need to find you a doctor.
We're gonna resurrect the plague.
Okay, well, we need to find the doctor that we're looking for.
Mm-hmm. This will be our excuse, and like, oh, help our friend. Oh,
That's a good point.
they'll open the door at least.
Fine,
Can I
would.
spend a point of fortune to say that I've been up to some of the healers up here before, along with my job
As a librarian.
as a faction agent for procuring books for the library?
Medical
Clifftop's not really a place where...
Damn it!
Find
All right.
books.
I just can't see the line of logic there.
Okay. Well, let's just go find a healer.
Okay, let's wrap right there.
You okay? You still not
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
That's
It's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.